Recently, we turned out a video of 5 habits that are keeping you from English fluency. And today,
we're going to do 5 more. What's up, guys? Welcome back to Waggle Friends English. We encounter a lot of problems from our students where they're trying to reach fluency, where they're trying to get a higher English level, but there's some things that they do that really holds them back. Not even just a little bit, but a lot.
Right. We're not talking about life circumstances. Life happens, you have a baby, you have a medical emergency, you have things that happen. But aside from those things, there are certain habits that people tend to do that's just not good for them to reach English fluency. So we can't control everything, but you can correct yourself from these habits in order to make sure that you're doing the most that you can to get toward English fluency.
So the first bad habit that we see that some of our students do is they charge full speed into advanced grammar, even if they haven't really built up the kind of supplemental grammar needed to understand it.
Or they feel like because they've learned present perfect over and over and over again, for example, that they feel like that they should just charge ahead and get right into conditionals or get into something that's a lot more meaty and more difficult in advanced grammar. The problem with this is if your foundation is shaky, the new rules that you learn, you're going to be built on a shaky foundation. You don't build a house on sand, right? You don't build a house on a terrible foundation, and it's not safe. It's the same. Your English is only going to be as strong as the effort that you put into it at the base levels.
That's why some of the best speakers that we know that we've worked with in the past have been those that have a very wide foundation, those that have either lived for an extended period of time in an English-speaking country before getting to all the advanced grammar stuff, or just those that have spent a lot of time understanding small things like articles or language logic.
And by the way, just a quick tip here, the more quality reading that you do and the more quality listening that you do, the better your odds of recognizing great grammar when you see it. And honestly, just following into that pattern to what feels right as you go.
The second bad habit that we sometimes see is that people study far too much academic English that they will likely never use.
Yes. I mean, if you're going into university setting or you're going into a professional teaching position, yes, you should know this academic English. However, if you are planning to just move here and just go straight to work, you probably don't need academic English, yet this is exactly what the standardized exams are trying to get you to study.
Yeah, so a lot of people, they have the goal to pass the exam to come to an English-speaking country, but most times that goal of passing that test does not correspond to actually being able to live in that country.
A lot of people feel that once they stop studying for an exam or they stop studying to get into a university, that they lose so many words because they're just not used as often in daily English.
So kind of on the curtails of that point, the third bad habit that a lot of people have is just studying English to pass a test.
Yes, so this has to do a lot with the academic vocabulary we were just talking about, but it also has to do with the grammar and the structures. You really don't need to have all of this perfect structure. You don't have to be able to break down a text or build a perfect essay all the time in order to survive in an English-speaking country. In fact, it's probably better in some cases that you don't have that. It will keep you from being so rigid and unnatural in your speech. However, again, if you are seeking to be good at writing and reading in English, or you're seeking to go into a very professional setting or do legal writing of any kind, then these things can be helpful. But if you just want to communicate and have friends, you really don't need it.
One bad habit that we've actually talked about a few times on this channel is switching between different Englishes. We've met so many of our students that we talk to them and we can hear the English-speaking teachers that they have had, whether they've had an Australian teacher or a British teacher. We can hear that in their tone of voice and how they structure their language and their grammar and all of it. Our ears are well tuned enough that we can tell what kind of English that student has studied, and most often, it's a mixture.
Yes, it's actually quite interesting because what happens is they create their own accent or dialect. It's very, very interesting, actually. But in terms of their pronunciation, they're all over the map. Maybe they use raised vowels like a Canadian, or they chop their R's like a British speaker does. They might be really lazy and shove a bunch of words together like an American does, but on certain words, they may sound far more Australian or like a New Zealand accent. So it's very fascinating when somebody comes up to us and has all these different accents just shoved together in their own learning. However, a lot of these people tend to be somewhat confused as to why somebody doesn't understand them or is like, wait, what did you just say? Because they're bouncing all over the map. They might sound like an American 1 minute, but then there's certain words that they say that are definitely not the American pronunciation, and they cause a little bit of confusion. Usually we could work it out, so this one's not absolutely necessary in order to reach fluency. However, if you want efficiency and being able to know the accent in your mind is consistent with the words that you say and makes things very streamlined, then it's a good idea to really focus on one until you reach fluency. Then you could start messing around with these other accents.
An example of this is maybe using certain idioms or certain phrases.
Yes.
If you start using phrases that are unique to each individual country but across the whole world, you're going to actually cut a lot of people off from understanding that. If you're in America, but you're using British slang because you had a British teacher one time, they're not going to be able to understand you. But it would be really strange if then you switched to, say, American slang. For an American, we would be like, I don't know what you're trying to get here. Like,
right.
I don't understand.
Or Filipino and South African English. There's a lot of things that would be very different idiomatically or in their figures of speech and their word plays. Very different. All of these things are culturally dependent. They depend on the culture that they're from to gain their understanding. It's really important to choose one English to really focus on until you reach fluency, and then when you have all that deep understanding of one, you can branch into the others and compare and have them sorted in your mind depending on who you're talking to.
And the last bad habit for today is not resting in English.
Yes, in the early days of this channel, we focused a lot on talking about how to live on an English island in your home. Make your home a place where you do a lot in English. You're watching English movies and consuming English music and media. You're having your conversations at the dinner table in English. You're doing a lot of English. But the idea is that you're going to be resting in English as well. It's one thing to show up and study, and go to work in English. But whenever you have a weekend, how are you using English? Or are you using it all? If you look at English as work all the time, because I get it, working in another language or consuming media in another language is a lot of work. But if you always view it as such, you're never really going to adopt it and truly make it a part of the way that you live. Making English part of your lifestyle is crucial to becoming fluent in English.
We had a student recently that we were working with that was just kind of confessing that she kind of made her house just a Spanish-speaking house. But when we started working with her, she felt like it was really strange because she's like, that's the chair I speak Spanish in. Yes. But here I am speaking English in here. And she said that it felt weird at first, but then it got to be really comfortable. Yes. Like my whole lifestyle is switching to fluency. And we were really excited for her for that.
Yes, it's a big step. It's a big step in the English acquisition journey. Guys, we're stoked that you're here. We're glad that you've made it through. And for those of you that made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. So many of you we see that show up very often. You watch every video. We are so grateful to you guys. Y'all are awesome.
You're striving for English fluency, and that's awesome. Thank you guys so much. We will catch you on the next one.